Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is the live review. Joining me is Joe Smith. Manchester United losing 2-1 in the Champions League. We've called it, on the thumbnail there, it said defensive shambles, and the first comment was offensive shambles. I mean, not much went right tonight, did it, Joe?
Offended. It was very offensive, I'll be honest. No, not much went right at all. I mean, almost nothing went right, really. Yeah. We looked terrible at the back. I mean, that first goal that they scored, that goal that Demba Ba scored, is one of the most bizarre goals I've ever seen United concede. I've never seen that happen before. Ball chipped up, like, we had a corner. Matic is 45 yards or 40 yards out from their goal and stood on the halfway line is Demba Ba with no one on him.
Yeah, it was
At any level of football, that is an absolute, I mean, shocking.
No, you're right, you know.
You never see that. You have a man on the man at least. Maybe if you've got a slow man like Matic, you put someone like Wan Bissaka or whoever, a bit faster, even Luke Shaw, probably faster than Demba Ba at this point. Like, you have a man on there who can at least keep up with him or at least be on, put his body across him or give a foul away or something. The ball just being chipped up to him and he's got a free run on goal from the halfway line. Like, when have you ever seen that? I mean, weirdly, we've seen Demba Ba do it before against Liverpool, but you don't usually see it against United. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
And almost sort of rub salt in the wound, then we go and concede another goal where you see more defensive lapses, and it's like everyone wants to get in on the act. I mean, I think when me and you were watching it, we talk about Luke Shaw. He was caught out of position, but it wasn't a great goal to concede defensively again because, the cross comes across as a dummy and just men unmarked. It's just, it was just awful, wasn't it, really, those two goals from a United point of view. There's not like you could look at the attack and go, oh, they've done really well there. We've just gifted it. Yeah,
that second goal again. First one, you're like, where is the whole defence? The second one, where is that left-hand side? They put the ball, the pass from Bruno to Mata was a bit overhit and he chipped it to him and you could almost see the look on Bruno's face as he chipped the ball back to Mata on the halfway line. But the touch from Mata was bad.
Yeah.
Like, two wrongs don't make a right. It was a bad touch from Mata. And then, was it Visca or no, someone else who came in and took the ball off him, whoever it was, took the ball off Mata, played it across, and then it took that dummy from Demba Ba. Now, I don't know if Axel Tuanzebe maybe didn't put a tackling on Demba Ba because he was already on a booking. Maybe he just wasn't in the right position. No, I'm not blaming Tuanzebe for that, but Demba Ba lets it run across him in the middle, and there's two men at the back post steaming in. Luke Shaw, off shot somewhere, off camera somewhere.
That's bad when you can't even see him on the screen. Yes, it was pretty poor. We've got a super chat. Adil Descartes says, Ollie didn't tell the defence to defend like that. Hardly any player was good today. Blame the players, not Ollie. Tom S says, any argument for Ollie in at this point? Surely not. I mean, listen, I think... Oh, sorry, one more as well. I'll just get through some of these super chats. The players, this is from Ross Murphy. Ross, good friend of the channel. The players should hang their head in shame. They're going to get a legend, and he is a legend, sacked.
Yeah, there you go.
When really, I get some players... I think he means I'd get some players out of this club. I mean...
That's an angle I mean, maybe not necessarily getting the players out, but I do think that as much as you can blame Ollie, and you can blame Ollie, and you could blame Ollie against Arsenal, his tactics were shit. He didn't adapt quickly enough. He looked like a manager that wasn't good enough to manage Man United against Arsenal. Tonight, as bad as they've been, like, the players were just shit. That first one... What is that? That first goal, what were we talking about?
Like you said schoolboy, I think others were saying it as well. Aditya Raju says there is absolutely no defensive coaching. Yeah, I get that about the coaching. I'm not just making excuses for all it, but that is basic. You don't need to coach someone to say you don't all the entire team go into the opposition's, deep in the opposition's half and leave the striker just completely unmarked.
On the halfway
just
line.
On the halfway line, so he's not even going to be offside. That's just unbelievably stupid.
And here's the thing. If the defensive coach, let's say Poch comes in next, because he's the only man who's talked about. If we ever see footage or hear a rumour that his defending coach has said, you can't leave a man on the halfway line from a corner by himself, then all of our defenders should be sacked.
Yeah.
If they have to be told that, if that's a lack of defensive coaching that has led to that decision, where we didn't know, then they aren't footballers. Because that's ridiculous. That's not.
It does seem basic.
There's some things you can say. Some defending that we've done. The shape, I'm not necessarily sure of the shape. There's certain things I don't like about the way we defend, and I'm sure we can defend better with better coaching. But that on the halfway line.
Can I comment a bit on
Yeah, go on.
Oh, hang on. Adam McCullough's coming in.
Sit here.
Well, that ship sailed, but go on.
I know what you're saying.
Go it.
Now, the reason I want to jump in on that is you're saying basics can't be down to a manager, and I get it. You can't tell someone to track their man on, or to be vocal or to communicate, or a goalkeeper to command his area. I get you the simple things, but football is a habitual game. When you see Man City playing the way they play, or Liverpool playing the way they play, and I know their managers make faults and have spent a lot of money, but they play that way because it's habitual to them. They do it every day on the training ground. They do it a million times until they get fed up of the manager talking to them. And in a sense, it is down to the manager's drilling of that team to be able to organise a team so that everything's second nature to them.
I agree.
Everything should be second nature. At the moment, it feels like we've got Maguire's feeling sorry for himself because he's got his own issues. So he's an individual. He's not talking to anyone. Axel's a young, new, fresh lad on the block, and he just came in today and he looked to carry on from where he left off. Luke Shaw's concerned about what people are saying about him on social media and this, that. You can tell everybody is an individual worrying about their own performance. Look up top. The only time we look good is when Bruno Marshall, Rashford, Donny van der Beek start doing little 1-2s and that. And that to me doesn't look like it's something that is coached on the football pitch. The defence doesn't look like it's drilled on the football pitch.
I agree with
and
that.
that's a problem.
I agree
yes,
that
they
the
are
defence
basics,
isn't very good,
but they
but
have to be.
I mean, I'm
habitual.
talking about that individual goal is not something that...
Which one were you?
The
first
Matic one, where
The
there's no
first
one
one.
on Demba Ba. I'm not saying that we couldn't be coached better defensively or that different managers couldn't get better things out of the players we've got. But I'm saying people saying that we need better defensive coaches because of that goal. That's not having a man on the attacker on the halfway line. That's pathetic. From
That's
any
true.
footballer at any level, that is pathetic.
That may also come down to the fact that we've changed the team.
Yes,
We've
maybe.
changed the team. Maguire's gone up, and nobody's bothered to say.
Then maybe
Again,
that.
it's people thinking about their own performances. It's individuals being individuals. We're not playing as a team, and I don't feel like we've been coached as a team defensively. It's a worry. It's a real worry.
I agree.
But
Maybe that is
just
true.
before you go, why has it all gone wrong then? Because it's easy to say we've always been like this. We haven't. Defensively, we weren't always like this.
Last season we weren't that
We
bad.
had a good run defensively.
very good
Do you know
defensively
what I mean? If you have to look at the records, I'm not Mr. Statman. You know I'm not. But we had a good record defensively, and then now it's just gone to shit. Why?
Maybe last season our attack was helping us, bailing us out a little bit. I don't know. Maybe.
Because I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just like,
It
as a
was
fan,
one-
I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
Players, we play well sometimes, though. We kept a clean sheet against Arsenal and Chelsea. Well, not Arsenal, against Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? The goal we conceded against Arsenal was a penalty. And maybe that tells you something. Ollie went super defensive against Chelsea and Arsenal. We concede one.
yeah.
Today we try to open up against a Division 2 team
Yeah.
and we get ripped apart.
It is worried. Just in the super chat, Tom S says, cheers, Macca. It was all Jose's fault before. Why is it the players' fault this time? We need to get real. We are going nowhere. Tactics poor, badly coached. Only a maniac would argue that Poch wouldn't do better.
I don't think. I mean, I'm
call
not
us-
saying
call us
that,
maniacs.
I'm not saying that Poch definitely wouldn't do better. I think there's a lot for. I don't always like that the first person that gets blamed for a defeat is the manager. But when you, as Adam's saying, when you're seeing patterns, when you're seeing repetition of mistakes, when you're seeing the inability to improve over long periods of time, when you see all these things, at some point you do have to question the manager. And I'm at the point where I am questioning the manager. I'm not.
Do you know what
it's
annoys
not
me
just
though?
blind
It's
love.
not. It's this. You know what? Like I'm not Poch's biggest fan, but I guarantee if Poch comes in now, we'd get a bump. We'd get that response, and it was the same when Jose came in after Van Gaal. It was the same when Ole took over from Jose. We had that. Same when Giggs took over from fucking Moyes. We had that one game against Hull where we had that bump, and it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't need a new manager to all of a sudden. Oh right now, fucking hell, we've got,
let's
you know what I
try
mean?
now. It's
a
embarrassing.
new manager now. I've got to prove myself, sort of thing. Ross Murphy's back in the super chat. He says we were crying out for a centre half and another central defensive midfielder. We had targets and the board never deliver. Another manager is getting thrown under the bus. I agree with that, but I think that it's not, the two aren't mutually exclusive completely.
Yeah.
I think Ollie's got to have some responsibility, but I don't think he was back properly at all. And I think you're right, Ross, as well about the centre defensive midfielder. Van der Beek looks like a good signing, but it looks like a signing that probably wasn't our priority.
And there are still some players in this team,
honest, yeah.
namely Luke Shaw, who I think 3 managers in a row have tried to get rid of now.
Yeah.
Or, I don't think by the end, I don't think Van Gaal was the biggest fan of Luke Shaw after he came back from his injury. Jose Mourinho notoriously wasn't a big fan of Luke Shaw. And Ole now...
Poch wasn't at Southampton.
Yeah.
Poch criticised him. I know he's praised Poch since,
Yeah.
but I think it was in his book that he wrote or whatever when Poch was like, Luke Shaw was a problem. I'm just before you go on, I've got a few super chats I just want to speed through because I know we're running out of time. David Dixon says, our players lack the most basic football intelligence, hundreds of millions of pounds worth of ineptitude that shouldn't require coaching. And this is what sort of goes back to what you were saying. Carl Hagan, that's it, lads. We know what's coming. We're wank. Ollie's getting a sack before Christmas, and then we have another 3 to 5 rebuild. Sick of this now. Nothing but great facts. And sorry, just Jeevan Gattatore, sorry. Are these recurring attitude discipline problems a sign that Ollie's no longer respected in the dressing room, or is it solely complacency on the pitch? I mean, all good points there. I'll ask you that last one there.
Yeah.
Do you think Ollie is losing the dressing room?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, how can we know? They look shit. They look like they're bad footballers.
Yeah.
So is that because they can't be asked? Is that because they don't respect the coach? You have to entertain these ideas because look what we're seeing. You can't keep seeing them lose. You can't keep seeing players like Martial, Paul Pogba, who, he's been good when he's come on off the bench this season, was shocking today. Yeah. Like, he did nothing. Yeah. Nothing of consequence. He chipped the ball up a few times, a nice couple of passes, but he gave it away a lot. He didn't really do much with the ball. How many times can a team of this quality play this badly? At some point, you do have to start questioning things. But again, it's another manager that has failed to get the best out of this team. And I think Ole is going to probably lose his job this season. But is that going to improve things? Where's that going to take us? I'm not saying that he's the right man forever, but do you really have the confidence that we sack another manager? And next thing you know, we're challenging for a title? Where is that going to come from? No. The same thing you said. We've seen the managers get sacked. The players have a little boost because, we can be asked to play again. Yeah. It's pathetic.
No, I agree with you, mate, 100%. Philip Harris says, Ollie is a legend, but he is in over his head. The board haven't backed him, and it's a shame that he will lose his job when the owners and execs are to blame. Listen, I think everyone on this channel, including Joe, including myself, including Mac, including Housen, have all spoke about the owners, parasitic. They haven't backed the managers properly. And they do this thing where we've done it in the past. We have one good season, and then instead of going through it the next season, we don't back the manager properly in the summer, and then we think, you know what, we'll just sack the manager in the middle of the next season, which feels like Jose or Van Gaal or even Moyes all over again in terms of what we're going through.
Yeah, Ole will get sacked.
I know.
I'm almost certain Ole will get sacked this season. But, let's hope in 3 years' time we're not in this same position again. We're not seeing the same cycle again where you get a few quid in the first summer, we change the team around, it looks like we're going in one direction, then we get sick of that, we sack the manager, get a new one in, try another direction.
Lots of people in the chat. People saying Roy Keane back in there. I think Roy Keane. Let's not get. I love Roy Keane. He's probably my favourite United player, but I don't think him coming into
Roy Keane is perfect
the dressing
for Sky
room
Sports.
would do any good whatsoever. That would just probably destroy us. Or he'd end up chinning one of the players. People saying Ollie could get sacked this weekend.
If he loses, if we
not
get
beyond the realms
to
of possibility.
If we see the same performance,
if we see the same, just shouted then international break. Sorry, go on, Joe.
If we see the same performance against Everton this weekend that we did at the end of the season before last, where we lost 4-0 at Goodison Park, if we see a performance of that ilk this weekend, I think Ollie will get sacked.
The board, Peter 022 says the board are happy enough with top 4. You're probably right. The board are probably happy with top 4, but the thickest pig shit, because if we actually invested a bit more, they'd actually get more money. If you look, it pains me to say it, but look at like what the Scousers have done. They've invested a load of money, started winning trophies, generate now more money than they've ever generated with all these deals and everything. And I think if you spend money in the right way and back the manager properly, you get that back, but they're just too fucking short-sighted.
You know what we're doing as well? We're setting up a culture where if the manager doesn't come in and with his first wave of success win trophies, if there's a dip, if there's a bad run of form, if there's a bit where these are playing shit, is it the manager? If we don't allow any manager to ride any storm, then all we're going to be is Chelsea, where if they're bad once, they're gone.
But the difficult,
I finished third last year.
I agree with you, but the difference is with Chelsea is they've got a billionaire owner who will back a new manager with like a war chest, where
250 million quid in one summer.
Like where we're so hit and miss. Yeah. With where we back managers. Like, sometimes we do. Van Gaal got backed at first. Jose had a bit of backing. Ollie had a bit of backing. Then we don't. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. And it's not going to get us anywhere. No. If you are going to stick with the manager, and if it is Mauricio Pochettino, say he comes in, say, you know, he comes in, doesn't get any money in January, he's got the rest of the season. Then in the summer, you back him, and we have a good season. Then the season after that, you don't back him.
Yeah.
And then he flops again. And it's like, oh, fucking get rid of Poch and get fucking Nagelsmann or whatever. I mean, fuck. It's just boring. The repetition.
Sorry, the problem is as well, though, and there is always the point, and I've made this point before, it's all well and good backing the manager, but if you back the wrong manager for a long time, you might end up being Liverpool. Like, we saw Liverpool go through different managers. Houllier, I know he won a UEFA Cup, but then they had Dalglish and players like this coming back in who were the wrong manager. They backed the wrong people, and if you're not careful, you end up 30 years in the wilderness. So there is definitely a case that if you're going to back them, they have to be the right man.
Yeah, so we have some stats from the game. Good shout. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, go on then. Yeah, just put them on. No.
Stats from the game makes pretty fucking grim reading, if I'm being brutally honest. 9 total shots for Istanbul, 11 for us. They had 3 on target, we had 2. Possession, this is the thing, we had 68% possession, so they're 32%, but don't feel like that. Certainly didn't create a lot with that. It doesn't feel like we did. Pass accuracy, they had 73%, we had 85%. Clear chances, they had 2, we had 1. Yellow cards, 1 each. We had 5 corners, they had 1, and both offside ones. I mean, there's no good having the ball lots if you're not doing anything with it. Carl Hagan in the Super Chat says, United going round in circles, lads. That's what we've just been saying. We chop, change and repeat. My question to you both is, do we back Ollie, or would you get a new manager in now and try and salvage the season?
Here's the thing. At some point, we have to back a manager. We have to let them go through a shit patch or 2 shit patches and say, you know what, we're sticking with him. And maybe Ole doesn't have the history, and maybe he doesn't have the CV for everyone to say we're going to back him through this shit. Maybe he doesn't. Yeah. But if Poch is the next person, he doesn't really have that CV either. Does he have the depth, the trophies, the history as a manager for us as a fan base to say, you know what, when you go through that tough patch, like all managers go through, we'll be here for you on the other side of it? Because I think the fact that he's never won anything is all well and good whilst, you know, we're doing well and he comes in and we get that boost. But as soon as he hits a rough patch, you know what, he's never won anything, has he?
People forget this, right? And you make a good point. Just quickly, Big Dosser says, Pep, Klopp and even Arteta introduced the style of play within months of being in the job. Ole has been here 2 years and we're worse with no style. Yeah, I mean, let's not get... Yeah. Arteta, I know he won the FA Cup, but let's fucking temper some stuff there.
Also, we scored so many more goals. Sorry, we scored so many more goals now than we used to.
Yeah, I can see why people rang you. You know what I mean. You sort of look styles, whatever. But also, Chandan Chahal says we never know if any of our managers were the right person for the job because we never have or will give them a platform for us to find out. I agree with that. Just sort of. Just quickly on what you said about you know, when you've got that pedigree, when you've got that trophy to fall back on, you know, perhaps you're given a bit more time. You know, we saw it a little bit with Liverpool when they had a sticky patch under Klopp. People forget that, but they did lost a couple of finals, Europa League Cup, went 8 games without a win. But they think, oh well, you know, he won back-to-back Bundesligas. You know, you can see what he's trying to do. But even like with us, like Jose had won lots. Yep. He won 2 trophies in his first season, got a second. But
as soon as the treble with Inter Milan,
when the wheels started coming off, and I'm not saying he shouldn't stay. I'm not saying that because I can see. Sorry, I thought you said. Yeah. Oh, go on. Yeah. Sorry, Mac has got a comment there.
3 words that have been quoted.
Yep.
Wow, these are the words that have been quoted. The first goal is our short corner, and we forget about the man up top, which is unforgivable.
Says
weren't very well organised.
Is this from Ollie?
Why is your manager saying we weren't?
So Mac has, if you won't have heard that, but Mac has just said there. In fact, I'll try and pull up the quote now. We weren't right. He said basically. He said Ollie said we weren't very well organised when he's talking about the first goal. He said the first goal is our short corner and we forget about the man on up top, which is unforgivable. We weren't very well organised for the second one. Sorry, that's what he said. 45 minutes to save something from the game, and we threw everything at it, but we couldn't break them down. I just want to go back to the chat. Sorry, Afik J says Rafa showed us what it means to have the United DNA away from the managers. Rafa De Silva, I thought was very good today. Away from the manager, the players need to show more intent and fight on the consistent level. And also, Keza says, just to play devil's advocate, Poch is probably one guy who we know can at least be reasonably successful without huge investment. We've seen that at Spurs.
Are the Glazers going to bring him in just so they know they don't have to spend any money on him?
Probably.
Also,
that seems like the sort of thing they do.
But didn't Poch lose a dressing room? Didn't Poch lose a dressing room 4 months after getting to a Champions League final? Why were they 15th?
Let's not have arguments off you can get into that. I mean,
why were they 15th?
They finished 14th when he got sacked. There was arguments that whether that was a dressing room. Right, Mac is saying Poch didn't lose the dressing room. Regardless of whether Poch lost the fucking dressing room, my main concern right now is whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has lost the dressing room. And I think no matter whether you're Ole in, I hate that term, but I'll use it anyway, or Ole out, it's getting close now. I think you can't keep losing football matches at Manchester United and keep your job, especially not with these owners. And I think Everton, it is a massive game. Get a win there and maybe go into the international break with your tails up a little bit. Another loss, another league loss, which would be our 4th out of 8, and maybe Maurizio Pochettino does come in.
Is there a chance it's anyone other than him?
I mean, who is there?
Is there a possibility we get someone like Nagelsmann or
I don't know. Is that Mönchengladbach? Is it Rose? I mean, there's other suggestions, but none of them are as. You know, when Jose came in, we did a video, right? And we never do this usually. Me and Steve did it at Old Trafford where we were speaking about Jose coming in and he hadn't been announced yet. Van Gaal was still the manager because we knew. Everyone knew, didn't they? There was no fucking question. Oh, is it going to be Jose?
Yeah.
Everyone knew.
It feels the same, doesn't it?
And is there any question? Carl Hagen. Oh yeah, sorry, I've read that out. Sorry. Getting so confused. I'm like United's defence. It was obvious, and I feel now it's obvious. And you wonder, do you think any of that does filter through to the team? Do any of that does filter through players? Because we know players aren't they're not in their own little bubble where they're not aware of what is going on in the world or what is going on with the club or the fans or the rumours or anything. And you wonder if they're thinking, is Poch on his way? I'm not saying they're not playing for that. I'm just saying they might be looking at it thinking, I've got a new manager here.
They definitely. I mean, they're not stupid, are they? They're all on social media. They do the same thing we do. They're checking the phone all the time.
I don't. I think
there's almost a part of me where you think, because we've seen this repetition, this same thing. We saw it, in the league under Van Gaal. We saw it under Jose, where it seems like there's a feeling around the club where, like I said, that inevitability where it's like, Ole is going to lose his job this season. Poch will be the manager this season. It's almost like the players, I don't know whether they can't help but get sucked into that or whether they're sort of, I wouldn't say fueling it, but like Adam was saying, it does look like they're all out there playing for themselves at the moment. And it doesn't,
What worried me about what Mackie when he
maybe
said...
they're ready for it.
When he was saying that, he said, Harry Maguire's got stuff going on. I think he mentioned Luke Shaw's got stuff going on. If you're at United, you've got to be able to fucking put that out and get on with it and just feel like
But is it up to the manager to
do you know what I mean?
Maybe not, if all these players are so busy playing for themselves, maybe they shouldn't be playing. And maybe it's up to the manager to... do the management side of his
some of them
job.
Performances for themselves. I think Luke Shaw's performance was for no one. I don't want to single him out because it's collectively
that
shite.
First goal, I can't.
Prince Kweyema says Chelsea chop and change their managers every other year and they're still successful. There's no Wengers and Fergies. Get the fairy tale out of your heads. I don't think we have a fairy tale, to be brutally honest. Lee McDermott says Nagelsmann would be my number one. He would be the only one fit to replace Ole, but something needs to change though soon. That would be the most Manchester United thing ever. Getting the manager in who's just been beaten 5-0 by Ole.
I was going to say, didn't he just get tactically outclassed by Ole?
That would just stink of Manchester United Football Club
under
its current regime. I know who we should get. We'll get the guy that lost 5-0 last time he was here at Old Trafford last week. Yeah, it'll be a good one. That'll win the dressing room over.
Set him up nicely.
We are going to wrap this up. We are going to have Adam McCullough's going to be here with his 7 reasons why we lost to Istanbul. Also the fan cams as well. You'll be in from Alex Baggers. Stephen Howson as well. Just quickly, I've got one more super chat before I go. Why Poch? Why not Allegri? How do you justify this home form? We paid 80 million for Maguire and Pogba. Lots of questions, lots of comments.
Very few answers at the minute,
Very few answers. I wish I had all them answers.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. Exactly. Maybe one for someone a little bit smarter than me. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay Motti. This has been the live review. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.